could hear you, but it was very, very, the volume was very low. Let me give you the
How's
first
that?
question and you respond to it, and we'll check the volume then. So,
Sure.
Professor, why is it that the DA believes that the Palapala matter rises to the level of possible impeachment rather than merely political controversy?
Well, the serious violations that have taken place that have been identified by the panel that looked into this matter, the parliamentary panel that is also chaired by people who are no newcomers when it comes to issues of law and also issues of evidence. The violations are of a serious nature in a sense that they range from constitutional violations to violations of the law and also to what is considered to be serious misconduct, not befitting a sitting president. And those have been spelled out in the Section 89 report. And the ANC and the president and the speaker are fully conversant of the reality and the gravity of those allegations that have emerged. And this one must also put it that these luminaries in law have come to a determination that the president may have a case to answer. And this is actually putting it more polite because theirs was to ensure that they sift the information that is available to them so that it can be ultimately ventilated and discussed and interrogated by the impeachment committee. But the matter was so serious that the ANC decided to ensure that the process of moving from the panel, independent panel, to the impeachment committee does not take place. Hence, we end up with the EFF and the ATM rushing to the Constitutional Court to say it must declare the behavior of Parliament to be inconsistent with the Constitution and also unlawful. And as matters stand, we had the Constitutional Court ruling that the behavior of the Parliament, and what we should say, we keep on saying the behavior of the National Assembly, but we should actually say the behavior of ANC MPs, because all other parties had no problem with the matter going to the impeachment committee. But with the ANC understanding the gravity of what the president was facing, they felt that it is better to kill this before it goes any further. Now that the Constitutional Court has come out and made that determination, now we are back to where we were about 2 years ago, with this matter now before the Parliament. But this time around, the message is very clear that the ANC or Parliament or the National Assembly will have to ensure that this report is tabled before the impeachment committee for it to make that determination. And yes, you can raise the issue of why such an unwieldy committee of 31 members instead of having about 10 people to deliberate. Part of it is deliberate. The ANC understand full well that if you are to leave it at the level of only proportional representation, other parties will not be in. And it counts on talking about the notion of inclusivity when it knows full well that this is not about inclusivity. It is about making sure that some parties who are in the GNU might be sympathetic to Ramaphosa because their being in the GNU is a result of them being invited, unlike the DA and or the MKP or the EFF who command their numbers. So the unwieldiness of this or the size of the committee is also a deliberate strategy. But be that as it may, those members are also fully aware of what the Constitutional Court spoke about, that the report cannot just be dismissed without it being ventilated, without it being interrogated. And once you start talking about the interrogation, then you are going to make the report more public. The report is public, but people are not reading it. It is only when MPs start talking about each and every one of the violations or possible violations that have been identified that the public is going to be shocked. That explains why the president is panicking. This is why, after abandoning his judicial review of the report in 2023, after the ANC decided to block it, he was very satisfied. Now that it has come, he has now rushed back to make sure that that which he thought he would achieve when he approached the Constitutional Court can be achieved through the courts. So you have the ANC that is panicking, you have the president that is panicking, even though he had announced that he's going to take this matter on judicial review. One must understand what the Constitutional Court said. They said the matter must go to the impeachment committee to be considered unless and until the report is set aside. So if you understand that, it says until it has been reviewed. But for now, simply putting it on review does not mean it has been reviewed. It does not mean it has been set aside. So the report still has a legal force in a sense that it can be considered. And does President Ramaphosa say? The person who claims to be innocent, the person who presents himself as Mr. Clean, he is now wanting to go the next step to even interdict the committee from even considering that. Like I said, he knows fully well that the issues that are in the report are weighty and very serious. And that explains why the DA says that this is a matter that is open to impeachment.
So, Professor, two questions before we go for our ad break. Um, Ramaphosa wants to go for a judicial review regarding this matter. But
Yeah.
let's go right back to the beginning. In your opinion, what do you believe would have been the right steps for him to have taken at the time the Palapala scandal broke, when all of that money was discovered under the mattress and, the people that obviously broke into the lodge and stole the money and uncovered the scandal regarding all of this money, all these dollars hidden in his lodge. What do you believe at that point in time the president could have done to have avoided all of this drama in his life? And do you think then that the outcome would have served him better than the scandal that is unfolding now in South Africa pre local elections?
Well, we must accept that as matters stand, Ramaphosa is an item for discussion. And that discussion does not paint him in glorious terms. It simply says you have a president who's possibly highly compromised. And he himself understood the gravity of what happened when the Arthur Fraser reported the matter. We must also remember that we're dealing with a president who has not been honest, or put it sharply, who have been dishonest, in a sense that he did not disclose, one, that there was money that was in the mattresses. Two, he did not disclose the theft that took place. Three, he did not disclose the fact that there were people who were instructed to look into the matter, which meant that those people were instructed to go and retrieve the money. So all this was concealed from the public as he was going around talking as if he's Mr. Clean. Only when Fraser reported that, he knew he was in trouble. And his instinctive uh, posture was to resign at that moment. And many people are saying, including the former speaker, that at that moment, he should have listened to his own conscience to say,
Sure.
this cannot be buried anymore. I would rather go down. And then he'll come out as honorable. But what we must say, he was found out. He was found out to have violated or possibly violated a series of constitutional provisions, series of laws, and in addition, have put himself in a situation where there was a conflict between his private interest and the interest of his office. And the mere fact that you had another president in another country, Namibia, being called on to come and assist, and that president being called to account his own parliament on a matter that has to do with another president who had decided to keep money in the sofa because he knew that the money was there. And when you read the report, it says there were a number of questions that were asked about that. One is that how do you keep, as a person who claims to be a businessman, keep this undeclared foreign currency in the sofa in your house? And the fact that it was undeclared, it raised the issue that as a first citizen, you should have done the correct thing. There's a second thing that you are supposed to have reported as required by one Prevention of Corrupt Activities Act. They should have reported this matter. He did not do that. Instead, he told somebody who has no authority to investigate the matter to do so, and the person did not report it. And we know that for 2 years after this, all was hunky-dory because this was not in the public eye until Fraser simply said, Mr. President, you are not as clean as you present yourself to be.
Okay, it is 18 after 8 o'clock. Let's go for an ad break. When we come back, we will continue this very important discussion, which obviously all eyes, not only in South Africa, but globally, is on this matter. So do stay with us.
You know, it's a wonder how kids get anything done these days. With all the distractions, when do they even get time to study? As a mother, all I can really do is make sure they have all they need to perform at their best. That's why I choose to include Sunfoil triple refined pure sunflower oil with every meal I make. Naturally cholesterol-free and approved by the Heart and Stroke Foundation as part of a balanced eating plan. So whether I'm cooking, frying or baking, I know every dish will be a wholesome one. Sunfoil, now we're cooking.
Qurbani is an act of worship, a sacrifice made for the sake of Allah. But for some families, it may be the only time all year they are able to have meat. A simple meal, shared, remembered, longed for. This Eid, your Qurbani can reach them. From just 1,300 Rand, you can provide Qurbani meat to families in over 30 countries. Make your Qurbani count for them. Give Qurbani, give love with Islamic Relief.
Discover the Africa of your dreams and surround yourself with her spectacular beauty. Relax beneath her serene sunsets and explore wildlife at its natural best. It's where the pride of Africa comes together. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve. Get to know the Big Five or cruise on an elephant safari game drive. Interact with lion and tiger cubs and enjoy world-class halal cuisine while we pamper you during your 5-star stay. Indulge in the true African experience. For reservations, call now on 042-203-1400 or visit kwantu.co.za. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve, the place of gathering.
Africa. Give the gift of clean water with Africa Muslims Agency. With every water well or borehole you donate, your drop becomes a river, reconnecting communities to nourishment, education, dignity and empowerment. Sponsor a water well for 17,000 Rand in Africa or a borehole for 65,000 Rand in Afghanistan or Africa. Quench the thirst. Reconnect the soul with Africa Muslims Agency.
Are you banking with convenience, transparency, and flexibility? With Al Baraka Bank's transactional banking account, you can enjoy convenient everyday banking designed around your needs. Benefit from zero fees on point-of-sale transactions and manage your banking easily through Al Baraka's secure mobile banking app and internet banking platform. From everyday payments to managing your personal or business banking, Al Baraka makes banking simple, transparent, and convenient. Visit albaraka.co.za to learn more. Al Baraka, your partner bank. Al Baraka Bank Limited is an authorized financial services and credit provider.
Rejuvenating media day by day. This is Salam Media.
"22 minutes after 8 o'clock, our guest is political analyst Professor Sipho Seepe. We are talking about, is the Palapala scandal, the impeachment, going to make or break Ramaphosa's political future? And on that note, then, welcome back, Professor. And what do you believe is the motive of the DA? What are they ultimately seeking? Would it be transparency? Would it be resignation, impeachment, or criminal prosecution?
Well, first, the issue of criminal prosecution is still on the cards, and I think other parties can also pick up on that because once there's a prima facie evidence of anything that is unlawful, anything that is criminal, parties are nothing prevent them from approaching the NPA to say you have a prima facie case, proceed as they do with all other people. In this case, they've decided not to do so, and it is all political. It is all about political protection. So that issue of criminal charges is something that is still open to be considered. The second issue that the DA is looking at, or other parties could be looking at, is the one that the Constitutional Court said, is that they would like to see the ventilation of this matter open in a transparent process. And the DA's position has been very clear, and it has been articulated most eloquently by Helen Zille to say, during a lifetime, she foresees a situation where this ANC will be on its knees, just like the National Party. She would want to see it dead. So they know full well that the impeachment process is going to be very embarrassing, and the ANC will not come out very well. And we're talking about the ANC that is already having serious problems because its support is declining. There's a party that used to pride itself as a leader of society, but right now it's a party that, according to its own president, is now accused number one in terms of corruption. When Ramaphosa said that, he did not know that he'll also be accused number one, or the commander in chief when it comes to corruption. So this is a reality that is emerging. So these allegations against him will then emerge, and he will not come out clean. And if it does not come out clean, then the question is, how can a party allow itself to be led by somebody whose conduct is so questionable? So effectively, the ANC will be colluding with what is considered to be unlawful behavior and unconstitutional behavior. And with its loss, now that its back has been broken, the people will start looking elsewhere. I mean, you're talking about the president who took a party that used to command 60% share of the vote to where now, within 7 years, it commands only 40% share of the vote. That is a humongous fall from 62 to 40%. That is 22%. Any leader with integrity would have resigned once they lose only about the 3 to 5%. But the Ramaphosa loves being a president so much that even if it means taking the ANC down with him, he will do so. But it is also because the ANC itself allows itself to go down. So for the DA and for other parties, political humiliation of Ramaphosa, the political humiliation of the ANC is what they want to see as the outcome of this impeachment process or the unfolding drama of Palapala.
Professor, if you compare the Palapala scandal to the Nkandla scandal, which would you say is more serious, given that a couple of years after all the dust had settled on Nkandla, then we had the riots, the June riots here in South Africa, which, suggest the suggestions are that it was instigated by Zuma's daughter. And I mean, it was absolute chaos in our country. The country could have actually burned down to the ground. So there are three scenarios I'm talking about here: Palapala, Nkandla scandal, and then the riots, which were allegedly instigated by Zuma's daughter. How do we see all of that, and which would you say was the lesser evil of the three?
Well, we have to be very clear about what happened in Nkandla. Nkandla came as a result of the president of the ANC choosing to make his homestead to be his operating space. And when you are a president, the law requires, and the state is required to provide security upgrades. What happened there is that the people who were employed there did more than what was required, did more changes than the list that were given by the police and the security cluster. So what you had there was what Tulima Tonsela properly put as that these other changes that occurred were not part of the security upgrades. So you, as a president, you have unduly benefited from this. And the former president said, no, but I didn't ask for this. So there's a difference where people act to do what they think a president would like, and go an extra mile than is required, than somebody who decides to break a number of laws. This is why the EFF at that time and Chudima Tonsela as a preparator said, Mr. President, you may not have asked these things, but you have benefited from them, because after the end of your presidency, they will remain. So we must be very clear about what happened. Here you had money that had come into the country that remains unexplained. Who's the source? Why it was not declared? And some people are suggesting that if you think about money laundering, that's how money laundering occurs. On top of that, you have this matter, this money undeclared. You had this money stolen, and the stealing is not reported. Then you have people going out. You have a series of violations of the constitution and laws. With Zuma, it was a question of you need to pay back the money. And he was saying, why should I pay back the money when I did not ask for this? So some people could argue that, but in the end, the Constitutional Court said that you should have paid that money. And actually, it was not so much about paying the money. It was about respecting the findings of the public protector to say those findings are binding. And we must also know, and because there is also a tendency for us to forget, at that time, it was still unclear whether the findings and the remedial actions of the public protector were binding. Scholars of law had argued that the strength of the public protector did not lie in legal authority, but in moral authority. So at that point in time, the Constitutional Court clarified that matter. So the issue of the riots, we must also put it in the context of our own history, that here, this was not a unanimous position of the Constitutional Court. Some members of the Constitutional Court felt that what the Constitutional Court was doing was unconstitutional, and they were very clear about it. To simply saying you cannot imprison somebody without the person having gone to a trial. Some people are saying that even the rapist, even the murderers go through a trial before they are jailed. And we should be shocked as South Africans that you can have imprisonment without a trial. It doesn't matter how much people want to disguise it. We've been through there as South Africans where we had detentions without trial. That's why two eminent judges in the Constitutional Court said, we don't agree with our colleagues. And we must also be very clear here. Just because we have a significant number saying, well, and if you read the judgment, it is a judgment that comes more out of anger than a judgment that comes out of a proper adjudication of law. You will read the report of Kambembe. You find somebody who is very angry, says, we must teach this person a lesson. And Jafdan and Teron says that cannot be right. And I do think that it's one of those cases that people are going to look at. But let us also understand that in as much as we want to find a scapegoat, somebody like me, I found that decision so outrageous. And many South Africans also found it outrageous. But because we react differently, we will write, we will talk. Other people will find other ways. That's why people say, if you come up with something that is unjust, people do not need justice of the Constitutional Court to tell them that something is unjust, and they'll know it. And the assumption, which I do not agree with, that the one person could cause so much mayhem, for me, is actually nonsensical at best. It is actually an act of desperation. No one person can actually would have been responsible for having caused so much mayhem. People were outraged. It was what you call a righteous anger, but it was carried out wrongly. But to say some of us who are educated, we simply accepted the outcome of the Constitutional Court, the answer is no. Many people were outraged, and we must put that in a proper context. But with Ramaphosa, we have judges who are saying, these are the cases. The question which must ask, if Ramaphosa is as clean as he pretends to be, why does he not allow himself, as Thabo Mbeki put it, why don't you go through the process? Thabo Mbeki put it very nicely. He says, what we have here is the ANC saying, Mr. President, even as you declare yourself to be innocent, we don't believe you. So what we're going to do is to protect you.
We've actually run out of time, but I need to ask you this very important question, and can we try and keep it as short as possible? And that, of course, is how does the DA balance the need for accountability with concerns about, and this is important, political and economic stability in the country, because there are a lot of concerns around that matter. Over to you.
Well, first of all, we should not, when it comes to democracy, we must either accept that we believe in democracy or not. We must accept that we believe in what you call accountability. We must say the rule of law. And if people are found to be wanting, we cannot start using the language that says, oh, if Ramaphosa goes, then there'll be instability. That is actually nonsense. We did not get to where we are as a people. The struggle was not fought over many years, over decades, over hundreds of years, to simply protect a person who is found wanting. And the DA must make that decision, that are you going to support a person because it's politically expedient, or are you going to stick to your principle to say there should be accountability, there should be respect for the rule of law, and people should be punished when they've done something wrong. That is whether an issue of principle versus expediency.
Professor Seepe, always a pleasure to have you on the show. And thank you indeed once again for your very deep insights on matters political. Till the next time, as always, go well and God bless.
You're welcome.
It's 8:35 a.m. We're going for an ad break. And when we come back, we have lots more interesting stories for you. Stay with us.